Good evening, wrestling fans, and welcome to the April 21st, 2011 edition of WrestleTalkShow. I'm your host, Joshua Zimmerman, here to bring you the latest and greatest professional wrestling news. We have some news, a lot of news on TNA. Jeff Hardy gets another continuance, and also what looks like an alternative to jail that we'll give you details on in a minute. Collectibles of Chris Benoit, are they worth money? Some would say yes, and you'll find out why in one of our stories in the wrestling news. We also have the ratings for Monday Night Raw and Tough Enough, and a quick show note on that. It must be a lag in YouTube or something. I might have to disconnect the auto share feature on YouTube for the Facebook and then reconnect it, because it used to, when I put yesterday that it would be uploaded by 8 o'clock, it was, but for some reason it took 3 hours after the show was already published on YouTube, give or take, to post to Facebook. That's supposed to happen immediately. Not that going to our direct page is any harder, but it does simplify it when you visit our Facebook page, and you can almost watch every video from the Facebook page because it links you directly to the YouTube page. So for those who may think that I don't know what I'm talking about, there is a glitch in the system. I just haven't determined whether or not it's a YouTube lag that can't be helped, or that my settings need to be refreshed, and that is something I'll be looking at in the next couple days. We also have information updates on last month Kurt Angle's reckless driving arrest. Information came out on that. Kevin Nash speaks out about Scott Hall on Twitter, of all places, but we'll get into that. WWE draft news from 2010, the creative process behind it as we go into the draft next week in 2011. So for all you draft fans, it'll be interesting to know. It was interesting for me to find out the creative process for this show. But like we do every show, I want to thank our viewership. As you'll hear in the top of the show, we're gaining almost daily, and, well, let's just rough it up to some improvements are coming daily. The blunt of the improvements to the show and the viewership are coming majority of weekly. I'll take daily out of it, because let's just say weekly. Every time I check it, even though it's updated every 24 hours and I give you statistics every couple shows. But we are gaining ground, we are improving, and that's all thanks to you guys. So keep up the great work. Remember to like and subscribe to our page. You can do both at youtube.com/CWE Company, where we have this video along with over 100 more on any and every topic wrestling ever discussed, including pay-per-views, viewpoints, guest hosts in the first couple shows. We'll be bringing them back sooner rather than later. So for those of you getting bored of just me, but I've gotten comments that my take, most recently, the last video, my take on the R-Truth thing where this advocate is splitting hairs. Thank you to all you viewers that agree with me, because that's all it is. A PG show, like a Law and Order, like I said before, does it all the time, but when wrestling does it, it's an outrage. Explain it to me. But for all that, more importantly, what I was getting at with the YouTube delay, real quick, I completely missed the point, is I posted it in the comments on the Facebook page directly under the video post, and then seen that directly, because every time I respond to a comment, it reposts the video. So I scrolled down and seen that the video had uploaded, but we did post the ratings. But in case I erase them by accident, because I do remove unnecessary posts or posts that at the particular time, depending on if I'm getting ready to post a video or if it's just cluttered, I do try and limit it to just show-related material on the Facebook page. And again, that's facebook.com/CWE Company. And Kevin Nash's favorite resource, twitter.com/CWE Company. You can also visit our show website at WrestleTalkShow.webs.com. There you can visit our online forum and post your opinion on questions already there. Post a new question. Submit questions to cwecompany@gmail.com. Don't forget about the logo contest. Real quick on that. The only two stipulations are that WTS, the initials, get put into the logo, or you use the full show name of Wrestle Talk Show. Submissions will not be accepted after midnight, May 14th, and the winner will be announced on the May 15th broadcast that will be recorded and posted no later than 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on May 15th. But we've thanked everybody. We've gotten the particulars out of the way. There's more plugs at the end like there always is, but you're not here for that. You're here for the wrestling. So let's get right into it, shall we? Moving right into your wrestling ratings. WWE Tough Enough for week 3 scored a 1.5 cable rating. And just to give you a view on how the show's doing, I'll explain it in a minute because these ratings are understandable. Remember, week 3, this past Monday night, scored a 1.5 cable rating. Week 1 scored a 2.6 as it was building around WrestleMania hype. Week 2 scored a 1.8. So The Rock and WrestleMania hype are gone, so a lot of us believe that this show is still doing well. WWE did it right. If you remember in a previous video, I said the idea and platform work as long as it's taken seriously. And with Stone Cold Steve Austin, he seems to be getting the biggest praise outside of the actual contestants because he's one of your truer wrestlers that shows you that there's realism and a way to do this, and just thinking you're going to get in it is a misinterpretation that you won't have for long while you're being critiqued by him. Monday Night Raw scored a 3.1 cable rating this past Monday, and it was a pre-recorded show from London, and it looks like, as of this rating, that it's back to pre-WrestleMania ratings. And the sadder thing is it should be doing better because outside of basketball playoffs, unless that's taking the majority of it, WWE right now isn't in the normal pinch as it is with football and everything. So it faces no direct competition outside of, again, basketball. And if that's the case, that's the case. But you'd think it would still be a little higher with only one sport competing with it, whereas it has its real tough time during football season. But 3.1, my philosophy on this is you're still doing better than TNA. If you fluctuate between 3s and 4s, you're there. Should you be doing better? Yes, of course. Everybody wants to strive for 4 or better. I'm sure when Vince found out week 1 of Chris Jericho's stint of Dancing with the Stars scored over a 5 in the ratings, I'm sure he wished he had that rating, but that's the scenario of the grass is always greener on the other side. In regards to our show, Wrestle Talk Show, total video views of all videos in the Wrestle Talk Show archive, total views is at 853 views, and this accounts for male and female viewers. And I want to congratulate you guys again specifically because it's been about a week or so since we last gave you these statistics, which means that we which means we boasted about our 6,000 view mark, and within a week and a half at best, you the fans have increased the views by 800 views. So thank you very much. Our information showed a spike in unique viewers, new viewers, occurred during April 10th and fluctuated up and down until peaking again April 20th, at or around April 20th. These are all guesstimations. They kind of give me, YouTube kind of gives me the month on a grid, but gives you from one date to an end date, but doesn't give you the in-between. But our normal viewers fluctuate, and our normal viewership peaked on regular viewers April 18, 2011. So thank you again very much. Those are the specifics of your viewership and the impact you're making for what I'm trying to build here, what we're trying to build here. Again, I encourage columnists who want to cover shows. I'm looking for one to cover SmackDown, one to cover Raw, one to cover everything else, or two to cover everything else. And then we could all get together on a pay-per-view roundtable, so without stealing from anyone, a roundtable, so to speak, and make it a once-a-month 2 to 4 hour show that I think the first couple we would put, just a theory I'm putting out there, but it will eventually become a reality. Pay-per-view wise, we might give 1 or 2 away for free to hype it, but I'm leaning more towards that once we launch the new website and the new format. Well, not necessarily the new format, but anything could change by the time we launch the site. I'm thinking the in-depth ones will start being the subscriber material or the VIP material. You'll get, like I said, you'll get a couple of them. I mean, maybe even more than that. I'm aiming to put the majority of them in the VIP section because 2 to 3 hour things are VIP, I believe. But, you know, it could go either way. I could do 1 month where one is only exclusive to VIP, and then the next month we just put it up there. I'm really not in it for the money. I'm in it to inform you, the wrestling fan. This is fun to do. The viewership only increases how entertaining it is. And let's go on with the show status so far. Male viewership as of today makes up for 95% of our total audience, while the female demographic dropped again to 5% of the total audience. And just to give you a breakdown of our demographics, 13 to 17-year-old male and females make up 5% of the audience. This is give or take, so bear with me here. It's rough guesstimates. 18 to 24 makes up 22%. All male and female, mind you. 25 to 34 makes up 20%. 35 to 44-year-olds make up 7%. And surprisingly enough, another peak again. But again, I remind you, these are updated every 24 hours. 45 to 54-year-old male and female makes up 50% of the total audience. And finally, lastly, the 55 to 64-year-old demographic makes up for 2% of our audience. But again, keep in mind these are updated every 24 hours. And just like the audience and unique viewers, it fluctuates, and YouTube gives me an average every 24 hours. So it could be more, it could be less, but still nonetheless, thank you guys. Without you, again, none of these numbers would be possible. A shout out to our viewers and our fan base. As of today, as of like 5 minutes before this recording, the United States makes up for 72% of our total overall audience. The United Kingdom comes in second, holding 22.7% of our audience. And finally, Japan, Brazil, Australia, and Canada all hold 1.3 of the audience. So This is all about you guys, these first couple things. Thank you very, very much. Our current most engaging videos out of all of them is the WrestleTalkShow Presents. Edge retires next week. TNA trying to find themselves again. With 16% of the total audience enjoying this video and finding it to be one of the most engaging videos. I don't know. It's still a compliment, but it is one of the most recent, so thank you guys. This video is also rated as one of our top videos, so thank you very much, guys. In regards to finding the show and how you, the internet searcher, or you, the viewer, rather, find us, key discovery comes via YouTube search with 28.5% of the audience finding us this way. Second place was through the method of what's called a no-link referral and mobile device, which means they're looking it up on their mobile devices, or the no-link referral part refers to they know what they're looking for, they type it in, and it's on point. This makes up for 19.7% of the audience. Finally, via YouTube related videos. This occurs when, for example, you get done watching one wrestling related video, and then after the video ends, or on the right side of YouTube while you're watching the video, including ours, you'll see it on the far right hand side, is YouTube, based on what you typed in, YouTube gives you suggestions for videos you should watch, and this method makes up for 13% of the audience. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And not a huge change, but a change nonetheless. We've gone from 41 committed subscribers to the show to 42. As I stated 2 videos ago, I'd like to see well, this is when it was at 41, even though 42 really isn't much of a difference. I'd like to see 80 or better within the next 2 weeks, but like I said last video, maybe it's too much to ask. Moving on to your wrestling news and rumors. More news than rumors, by the way. I'll let you know if it's a rumor. Jim Ross will be on Monday Night Raw next week. TNA announces outdoor house show tour featuring TNA announces outdoor house show tour. Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair, 2 of the advertised for rare appearances. Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair headline an outdoor TNA house show tour this summer. TNA announced on Tuesday. Various others announced like the following. June 10th in Marion, I'm assuming that's the abbreviation for Illinois, even though it looks like the Roman numeral for 3. Marion, Illinois at Rent One Park features Kurt Angle, Jeff Jarrett, Matt Morgan, Matt Hardy, Bully Ray. Those are your advertised top stars. June 11th, as advertised earlier at AutoZone Park, and the date was also announced. Look, I want to say the show before last I advertised this. Sting featured with a rare house show appearance. June 18th in Buffalo, New York at Coca-Cola Field. Hulk Hogan with a rare house show appearance. Kurt Angle, AJ Styles, and Beer Money will also be there. July 1st in Brooklyn, New York at MCU Park. Ric Flair, Kurt Angle, Jeff Jarrett, and RVD are advertised. Ric Flair more for the rare appearance part of it. Moving on, Vince McMahon makes last-minute changes, or what we now know, Vince McMahon made literally last-minute changes to the 2010 WWE draft, and it gives insight on the creative process. McMahon and company had decided beforehand that big-name superstars would not move from their present positions or shows. Former WWE writer John Palmieri gave his insight on this past Tuesday's PW Torch livecast, and that's a segue into this. He's been on the show twice in about 2 weeks. I suggest that you either subscribe to them in the RSS feed, or more, what I find simpler is, because it's all there to listen to and re-listen to. I subscribe to many of them. He gives great insight, and he's been on. They have a Torch Talk with him that's for VIP members. That's PW Torch /Go VIP, which about $5 a month you get insider, kind of like what we're doing, insider things, including Torch Talks that are longer than the live casts that are at an hour and 20 at best. You're getting about 4 to 6 hours on every Torch Talk. There's John Palmieri. They just advertised one not 2 weeks ago for 6 to 8 hours on Diamond Dallas Page, discussing his whole career, WCW, Eric Bischoff, and more. So that definitely might be something you might want to check out. It's rumored that Kurt Angle, by the way, is also working while suffering similarities to what just put WWE superstar Edge out of action. And it's stated that for years now, on again, off again, he's dealt with neck problems, numbness in his hands and arms, off and on again over the years. Could he face the similar fate as WWE superstar Edge? And the discussion point here is why does TNA allow him to work with this new insight? Especially after the pay-per-view where you had the botched powerbomb that almost killed him. And then to make matters worse, he put himself at risk for a second time in the same match with the moonsault off the top rope for, like I said last show, no apparent reason. But the question, we'll call it the question of the day, why not? Why isn't TNA having this guy checked out, especially since at one point, I don't know if anymore, I'd assume he still is, because the other ones, the show just doesn't make any sense anymore. I mean, one week it's on point and you're happy with it, and the next week something comes up where you have no clue what's going on. So it begs the question, why isn't TNA getting him checked out? Show that you care for the wrestler, and it's not just about what he can do in the ring and you don't want him checked out. But then again, it came up between the last couple videos that we don't know how many wrestlers are dealing with this presently that don't want to say anything because they're not ready to be done. I mean, it's argumentative, but I doubt Edge wanted to leave when Edge did, because Edge was just starting to find his niche again. The only sad thing about it is, yeah, he did his WrestleMania, he retained, and within hours he was gone. But I think the only thing that hurt him most, and a character called Mr. Mutant Larry on SmartWrestlingFan.com, their podcast Tuesday night, he said, what, more or less, you don't know how many you're dealing with, because then they would be out of a job. Who knows how many of these superstars or wrestlers, whatever brand you're favoring, where these guys just aren't saying anything, because if your career ends, so do the paydays. But the paydays might be ending anyway, but that's to come in the story in a minute. Jeff Hardy, as we advertised at the top of the show, had his court date continued again because of he's being currently evaluated by a drug and alcohol specialist, and the specialist was the one that asked for more time to better evaluate Hardy. It's believed that an option outside of jail time will be this program where he'll basically have to go to classes. Like he was ranting in, I could turn another whole video into a rant on how unfair this Jeff Hardy thing is, but look at the last 10 videos, especially the ones with Hardy featured in the title or in the description, and what was that? You get busted in September of 2009, and as of April 2011, he does not know his fate yet. Do they have a case or don't they have a case? The back and forth is getting kind of ridiculous. Like, he has his lawyer in place. They've obviously brokered the deal. Now what's holding it up is this, what I'll call chemical evaluation. Give me 1 second, guys. Hello? Alright, give me 1 second. I'll be right back, guys. Give me 2 seconds. Sorry about that, guys. Somebody knocked on the door. But what the issue is now is how many times are we going to go back and forth with whether or not Jeff Hardy's going to go to jail? I mean, first it was his lawyers trying to broker the deal for his punishment, and then now it's the court-appointed evaluator that's holding it up. But the argument's always been, if it were me or you, we'd already be in jail, especially if our charges stem from 2009.
What you doing?
Recording. I'll be with you in 2 seconds.
What you recording?
One of my shows.
Hello. Oh.
Hey, I'll be right with you.
All right.
In your UFC news, Brock Lesnar has his 2010 earnings reported. He is the top earner for MMA in 2010, earning just over $5,300,000. And what did he work? 2 or 3 fights? This was gauged over 30 other sports, including basketball, boxing, baseball, auto racing, each of which came in at around $25 million and up for the top earner. So in MMA he leads, but in other sports obviously he doesn't. TNA wrestler Sting in a recent interview states he was quote, very, very close to signing with WWE in January. Sting said his usual concern of how McMahon would treat him as a former WCW guy played a favor. Quote, all those years throughout the 90s, especially in the early 2000s, I always believed Vince McMahon wanted me more to undercut WCW than he did me as a talent. Quote, Sting said, I quote, I was real close but never did do it. Collectors, if you're a wrestling collector, are questioning the value of Chris Benoit merchandise and items. A fan recently submitted information that he has a turnbuckle from, I believe, WrestleMania 20 in the triple threat between himself, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H, where the world champion at the time signed the turnbuckle, and it's estimated that turnbuckle pad, the turnbuckle pad will sell for $2,000 to $3,000 and includes a certificate of authenticity from WWE ensuring that it's real and it's not fake. But considering you guys all jump on the anti-Chris Benoit bandwagon. Who knows?
Are you actually recording this?
Yeah.
Good.
TNA releases Jay Lethal. Oh, I skipped a story. Sorry, guys. Kevin Nash comments on the Scott Hall incident after the recent indie event where local police had to carry him out of the ring. Quote, Nash commented on Twitter a couple nights ago. Each time I talk to him, I feel like it may be the last. Quote, Hall is in bad shape, and each time I talk to him, I feel as if it may be the last. It's gotten to the point where I save his voicemails much like I would save Andrew's. We know Andrew as former WWE wrestler Test. Because I knew sometimes when I heard his message, it could be the last. Concern grows as family and friends hope to have an intervention soon. And as I skipped the line, I already told you, TNA has apparently released longtime wrestler Jay Lethal, removing his professional profile from the company website. And Spike TV hires a new executive. And what does this mean for TNA? Especially the new executive has an initiative that it will take a new direction on non-scripted programming. Will this mean that TNA will be forced to update its ratings, considering its go-home televised event last week barely scored a 1.3, and I'll be interested to see the buy rates when they come in. In other entertainment news, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson appears on Lopez tonight and discusses WrestleMania 28 return and the Jerry Lawler match. Kurt Angle, like we advertised in the beginning of the show, Kurt Angle reckless driving charge update. Some new information was reported by the Grand Forks Herald newspaper that Angle's blood alcohol level at the time of his arrest was, quote, Peace, brother.
Enjoy.
Oh, where is it on the tail?
Over here.
Oh, thanks, man. I didn't mean to be
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hold on. You gotta grab mine.
Some new information was reported by Grand Forks Herald newspaper. Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, man. I'll be in touch with you tomorrow.
Alright. Yeah.
Thanks, man. That Angle's blood alcohol level at the time of his arrest was, quote, barely over 0.8% threshold because Angle did not have a prior conviction. The state attorney's office reduced the charge to reckless driving. The original charge was being in physical control of a vehicle while intoxicated, which would have carried a harsher penalty. And finally, in wrestling news, Dancing with the Stars, for those who are interested, for those wrestling fans that follow it, because Jericho's on it. Jericho survives another elimination round, advances on the show, and apparently, according to reports, his dance quality improves with each show. And our segment for the show will be, we'll take the Edge thing, because it's the only thing that really keeps coming to mind every time I was thinking about. I try to do the segments on the spot related to what we hear, and this couldn't have worked out better. If Kurt Angle, we've seen, and this will elaborate on the two stories more, we've seen that even though it's rumored that they knew before WrestleMania because it all happened too quick, but if you remember, or up until his retirement, he was scheduled for the European tour and then would come back and do Extreme Rules, which would have been at a ladder match. So the fear is if he would have survived the European tour, which there are a bunch of house shows, it's low. I mean, I'm not the wrestler myself, but in comparison to a pay-per-view ladder match, your house shows are kind of light work in comparison. But if he would have went through with the ladder match, it might have been his last, considering in that Edge retirement video we did 2 videos ago, he faced either being paralyzed and or death. And my concern is if Chris Benoit, Kurt Angle has these ongoing problems and they're out in the open, so obviously TNA knows about it. Angle has reported on it. Why is this comes down to what I said on the April 19th edition of why isn't management stepping up, having this man get checked out, and if he's going through these problems, why is he performing and doing what he's doing? The best example, most recent example, is this past pay-per-view. It's unneeded. If you're having numbness in your arms and hands and neck pain from time to time, why would you take a power bomb where your neck almost snaps in half? Explain it to me. It really doesn't make sense. And another thing that bothers me more, being a low-level promoter, but in my situation, the way I look at it, because I've worked with other independent promoters, is if you're a promoter, and your first goal is to take care of the men that are going to or are making you money. This falls under the category of why is management letting Kurt Angle take these risks? Two, and more importantly, one would argue, why is Kurt Angle comfortable with taking these risks, considering now, like we just read, it's out that he has ongoing pins and needles and numbness? Why are you doing this to yourself? And why we hear, and it's the ongoing joke I gave a couple videos ago, we hear about the wellness policy, we never hear about the results. The Jay Lethal termination, we'll get you details as it comes along. It was pretty vague, the headline, and the details in the headline. But I will get you details on that either tonight, like I did with the ratings last night, or on the next show, we'll make it a segment or the updates part of the news as we've done with this Kurt Angle thing. But it really irritates me when these guys want to play promoters. Dixie, Hogan, Russo, Bischoff, you're all accountable. If this guy dies, it will be, one, because of him, because he's known in the locker room and through his friends that he wants to one-up the last thing he did in the ring. But as promoters, don't you think it's your responsibility to watch this guy that you're contractually paying to perform for you? To watch him enough, almost like the Chris Benoit thing, where the scenario, I know it probably doesn't relate, but it's the same, the moral's the same. If you're going to let the guy use steroids, monitor him. If you're going to let the guy keep wrestling despite ongoing health issues, which pertains more to Angle now, why aren't you watching him? Why aren't you testing him on a regular basis? Why is your wellness policy advertised when it happens, but then it goes no further? At least with WWE, we hear the results. But it's slim pickings, and TNA doesn't have much of a product now, so I imagine getting rid of Kurt Angle, even though it would help the man, if, say, and this was my argument a couple videos ago when we did, I believe it was the Retro WrestleMania is the headline of the video, where don't put a cap on the wrestlers you hire for this one reason, and follow me here. You hire, let's say, 100, 125 guys. This way, just as an example, it would have to be written up or drawn out a little better, but just a theory, kind of like my buyout theory, but a little more sensible. Well, that was sensible, but hear me out on this one. If you didn't put a cap on your roster, you could rotate wrestlers out between those wrestlers, say every 3 months. Every 3 months, one set of wrestlers work while the other set is on a break healing for 3 months. After 3 months, the workers that just got done working for 3 months get 3 months off. This way you never run out of talent to run your programming, and at the same time, you're taking care of your wrestlers and giving them more than a week or two to heal on injuries that should be given proper time to heal. I mean, whenever you're hurt, your doctor says go home and rest. You break your leg. What do? You don't go out and play football. You go home, just a scenario. You go home and you rest the leg. It would, I believe, dramatically drop the amount of wrestlers that are burnt out and get put in these predicaments. I mean, who's to say if you implemented a change like this, it might later on, years down the road, your statistics might change where drug use related deaths change, the amount of drug use in professional wrestling might change, but instead, not so much TNA, but Kurt Angle did have abuse with it. That's one of his many obstacles, and the divorce and all that happy stuff. But they would use the drugs the way they needed to in the privacy of their own home. And if you're WWE, they wouldn't be working 200 plus days a year where they're forced to take it on the road to mask the pain that isn't given the time to heal, because a week or less they're expected to perform again while on this medication. And I'm not trying to make it a drug rant, but then it becomes a big surprise when wrestlers like Carlito, HBK, Kurt Angle, and a vast majority become dependent on it because they don't want, and I mentioned this before, as the wrestler, you do not want to lose your spot, and more importantly, you do not want to lose your job altogether, because God knows, even though WWE doesn't always show it in the best light, they have replacements, and no one in this business wants to be replaced. So it becomes a game of, let me do whatever I can to mask the pain, to work this match so I can get a payday. It's also part of the reason I'm a strong advocate of, you should either make the wrestler, well, the wrestler should, but Vince has enough money quarter to quarter. Ladies and gentlemen, let me repeat again. The average quarter-to-quarter carryover after all WWE expenses are paid is over $200 million. Quarter to quarter. And that is just company funds. That's not McMahon assets. That's just WWE money. So Vince has more than enough money to set up a plan where every payday, I had it when I work for employers, they take some of them, even, it's not like they couldn't afford it, but if you're in that scenario, some of them take a minimum of like $5 a week, and you get some kind of medical coverage, and your employer matches to a certain point. You pay in, your employer pays in. It would be a win-win. The wrestlers would be protected. They would have peace of mind knowing that if they get hurt, they're not just going to have their hospital bill paid and then their contract bought out because they can't perform anymore. And all of these kind of looped into one. The rotating wrestler thing, the benefit package, and or a severance package. That way when your John Cena does leave, if he doesn't leave on account of injury, considering how hard you use him, you show the wrestler that you cared. And it brings back to the TNA thing I just said. Your key responsibility as a promoter, outside of selling your event, selling your match, selling your wrestlers, is to take care of those wrestlers outside of the wrestling. The wrestling causes natural wear and tear. So be responsible promoters and do not let wrestlers like Kurt Angle work, because this pins and needles thing can only get worse, TNA, if you keep ignoring it. And WWE might have the same thing, as we mentioned a minute ago. We don't know on both sides, independent, all across the board, how many wrestlers just aren't saying anything because they don't want to be out of a job. And that's a bigger fear. But we'll see what happens. For this video and every other video, visit youtube.com/CWE Company. Be sure to send your show-related emails, questions, concerns, logo submissions, and anything else Wrestle Talk Show or wrestling related to cwecompany@gmail.com or cwecompany@facebook.com. Visit our show site at wrestletalkshow.webs.com. Interact with the forum. Donate as little or as much as you want via PayPal. It's the securest way to go. Peace of mind when donating. Help us make this a better production. And like we say on every episode, we understand economic hardship. So if you can't, the thing almost as good as money, sometimes better than money, is word of mouth. So when you're on the YouTube page tonight checking out this video, scroll down past just below the play button at the bottom of the video. Remember to like us, subscribe to us, refer a friend, email your comments and suggestions, because as I emphasized on April 19th show, this is an interactive show. I welcome any kind of feedback because it does get factored into the show, as you've seen tonight and every other show. Feel free to get more wrestling insider news with our friends at pwtorch.com, who hold a Monday through Friday podcast. smartwrestlingfan.com, who archives their stuff. They just had their past one that went over 3 hours. smartwrestlingfan.com. Up to the minute wrestling news with Jason Powell, along with his audio show. They're all available on iTunes, by the way. I would suggest just a key search of wrestling and see what you come up with, or search them by name. And finally, guys, until next time, thank you for your viewership. Sorry for the interruption, but we were too far into it to do a retake. And thank you very much again for all the success that we emphasized in today's show. You guys, truly make this worth doing. Every day that I record, I enjoy doing it. Help me any way possible. Again, looking for columnists, reviewists, who want to kind of lighten the load to where it can be a team covering every aspect of wrestling. Send your interest and a resume into cwecompany@gmail.com. Until our next video, which will probably be within a day or two, if not for tomorrow. Well, figure before Raw, we'll have another video up to cover SmackDown and the weekend's worth of news. But until next time, guys, thank you very much. Thank you for your cooperation. Thank you for your viewership and your dedication. And remember, this show's for you. So give me all you got, guys. Thanks. Have a great night.